Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show, India Fights Back, where we talk about all the steps we've been taking to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the countrywide vaccination exercise is being exponentially expanded to include those above 60 years of age and those above 45 years as well with co-morbidities, and this will happen from 1st of March 2021. Now, the CoWIN 2.0 app, which will drive the next phase of COVID-19 vaccination, set to begin from 1st of March, will also be launched on the same day. People eligible for vaccination in this phase will be able to self-register on the CoWIN 2.0 app. Besides this, the beneficiaries will also be able to register using Arogya Setu and common service centers. We'll try and understand more about this entire exercise and specifically about the 2.0 version of the CoWIN app. And for more on this, we're joined by none other than Mr. RS Sharma. He is the chairman of the Empowered Group on this particular app, which is, related with the entire COVID vaccination exercise. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, Mr. Sharma. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to have a conversation with you. Let me begin by asking you to explain to our viewers a little bit more about the CoWIN app and specifically the 2.0 version, which will be utilized from 1st of March onwards.
Well, thank you, Vishal, for having me on this show, and I'll be very happy to explain to your viewers as to what are the basic features and what is the plan going ahead in the second phase of vaccination. As you know, the first phase of the vaccination began with the Honorable Prime Minister's launch of the program on 16th of January. And what we covered in the first phase was the frontline workers and the health workers. So that program has been going on for about, now more than a month, 35, 37 days. Now, during that program, we had collected the data of all the health workers and all the frontline workers, and then we were inviting them to come and get vaccinated. Now, the second phase begins for people who are more than 60 years of age or persons who are less than 60 years but more than 45 years and who have some comorbidity. So this is the program which is going to begin from 1st of March 2021, and that is what usually is being called from the application perspective as CoWIN 2.0. Now, CoWIN 2.0 is not really an app in that sense of the typical sense of the term. What it does is essentially it provides people a facility to register themselves through Arogya Setu or through common service centers or through the portal of COVID platform, whose address is cowin.gov.in. There you can go to that portal, or you can use that portal in your own mobile phone by going to this URL, and then you can register yourself and then get an appointment at the hospital of your choice near you on a date of your choice. That's how it will work. So it is a citizen-centric approach to vaccination, where we will be kind of taking bookings from the citizens and then providing them vaccination services.
Okay, since CoWIN is very central to the entire vaccination drive, we've seen how it was used in the first phase as well when it was launched from 16th of January. Now, one question here, Mr. Sharma, is that there have been instances in between wherein the CoWIN app did not function properly at certain places, or there was some problem with some technical issues with the app. So the question here is that have all those aspects been tackled properly, and now the 2.0 version is something which is expected to work seamlessly?
Well, Vishal, let me clarify this whole issue of glitches or the errors in CoWIN 1.0, if you want to call that. You see, it is true that when the Prime Minister launched it on 16th of January, there were for a couple of days some technical glitches or software related issues which were rectified within a couple of days. Now, subsequently, whatever problems you have been, which are being reported in the press, electronic and print media, both, these problems essentially relates to data and not the software. So, for example, the data of the people which we received, the frontline workers and health workers in the first phase, that data was deposited on the central repository. And from here, we started giving out, let's say, the SMS messages to the people saying that you have been scheduled to appear on that day at that place. Now, obviously, the data will go to the SMSs which were provided for in the database. And unfortunately, in many records, they were not correct mobile numbers written. So therefore, the messages did not go. Similarly, some people did not use the software in the beginning. And then they started complaining that the software is not accepting the second dose. So if you do not enter the details of the first dose into the system, which is supposed to happen real time online, then the system obviously will not give you the second dose part because it does not know. Vishal, as you know, the old dictum of garbage in, garbage out. So obviously any system will work only so long as you use that system. Now the problem is that many people somehow, because of various reasons, may not have used the system properly, and therefore these kinds of complaints emerged.
Okay.
So to sum up, there were no software glitches. These were all related to data later on. Of course, initially there were a couple of days the software glitches were there, which were rectified.
Okay, that fair enough. If that's the case, then obviously we can expect it to function very smoothly in the next phase as well. Now, one very important question here, Mr. Sharma, although you referred to it in your first response as well, but I would like to, reiterate that particular aspect here, and if you could clarify to our viewers as well, in terms of, from 1st of March onwards, any of those beneficiaries above 60 years of age or those above 45 years with comorbidities want to get themselves vaccinated, what is the procedure step by step in terms of utilizing CoWIN app, and what kind of documents will be required?
Well, one, as I explained to you, there will be an extension of CoWIN or the vaccination in Arogya Setu app. Now, Arogya Setu app, that extension will become extension or one of the tabs, new tabs, for example. This will become visible from 1st of March. So you can use those of you who already have Arogya Setu installed on their smartphones. They will be able to use this extension or the U tab, U facility, and will be able to register themselves. Similarly, the common service centers also can be used for that. Otherwise, on your own mobile phone, smartphone, you can go to the website address. All the mobile phones have a browser. For example, the iPhones have a Safari browser, then the Android phones have Chrome browser or some other browser. On that, you can type in cowin.gov.in, and then you will get the facility to register there online.
Okay.
That's the procedure for registration. And of course, if you don't have any of these facilities, then you can go to the nearest common service centers and get yourself get somebody's help to register.
Okay.
Now the question is, what are the documents required? What is the process? The process of registration is very simple. You just have to provide as to which document will you be bringing at the mobile at the vaccination center. So, for example, you could choose Aadhaar card, you could choose driving license, any document which is actually issued by the government and which has got your photograph, age, and gender. These three things are essential. That document you can specify in that app or in that URL or the website address. Thereafter, it will ask you, okay, what is the details of that particular document? So, for example, if you have chosen driving license as the document which you will be bringing to the vaccination center, then the software will ask you what is the number of your driving license. So, driving license number. And then the name as it is written in the driving license. And then what is your date of birth or age as it is written in the driving license. So these are the only 3-4 attributes which are required. You can just submit your kind of registration. Then you can use that same mobile number to enroll 3 more people, which is, suppose your family members don't have the mobile phone or they have only merely a feature phone. You can register them also on the mobile phone, this phone. So at one registration or one mobile number, you can link as many as 4 registrations. And subsequently, you can take appointments, which basically means schedule your vaccination. So then once you say, I want to schedule the vaccination, then all the centers near you, their list will be shown to you, and you can choose any of the centers if that center has got vacancies. So
Okay.
it is like searching for a railway reservation where you see you want to travel by a particular railway, or you want to get vaccinated at a particular center. Then whichever date you find the vacancy exists, you can book that appointment. This is the way it will operate.
Okay, and how's the walk-in mode different from this entire procedure which you explained? Will that also involve the CoWIN application?
No, that will not involve the COVID application. Suppose you know that certain centers are vaccinating, then you can also walk in. But kindly remember that suppose there are 100 capacity of that center is 100 vaccinations per day, and they have already kind of booked 80 sort of bookings that they have already done. Then there will be only 20 walk-ins. It is like saying that in a railway rail, you have certain compartments as reserved and some compartments as unreserved. So unreserved people can go directly to the train and board the train. However, there's a difference. The difference is that in the train, you can go on standing, and you can have 60 passengers in a compartment which can accommodate only 20. So you can have a crowded part. Here you cannot, because here the vaccinations, the vials may be constant, vials may not increase. The vaccinators may be also not there to have extra vaccination. So that way they will be able to accommodate only that much as the space. So first come first serve basis probably on the walk-in. So in the walk-in, you do have a chance of returning from the vaccination center and coming for next day. It is better that you secure your place by making reservation there. And
Okay.
it is not necessary that you only do this. Only you have to do this. You have to have the mobile phone. That's not correct. Any
Okay.
smartphone can make reservations on behalf of any other phone also, and the messages etc. will go to that feature phone. So that way it's a very flexible process of booking, very simple process. So the advice is that you should go for booking, but that's also not necessary. You can go with the documents and walk in, and if there is a place or there's a vacancy or the crowd is not there, you can be registered.
Okay, and will the process remain same, Mr. Sharma, for both the government hospitals as well as private hospitals? Because this time around, the private hospitals are also involved in the entire process of vaccination.
Yes, the process is exactly going to be the same. Once you reach there, then then the person who is there verifies you that it is you who have made the reservation. So basically, if you have Aadhaar, then they do the online authentication of Aadhaar. You don't require to have the photocopy of any paper. If you have driving license, then they will take the photocopy of your driving license and your photograph. If you have claimed comorbidity, then they will take the photocopy of the or take a photo of the comorbidity certificate. That process is common. And after the vaccination is done, then you shall be issued a certificate, which is actually done by the central government from centrally. So that certificate will be issued, it will be printed by the facility, and it will be given to you. It will be a digitally certified document. For the first vaccination, there will be provisional certificate, and after second vaccination, you shall get a final certificate, which can be subsequently used by you for your employment or for travel and for other things.
Okay. That seemingly clearly explains the entire process. Now, earlier, Mr. Sharma, in your previous responses, you explained, clarified on as far as the glitches part is concerned for the CoWIN app. Now, there's one more concern, if you could assuage those concerns, and that relates to the data privacy part vis-a-vis the CoWIN application. So how would you go ahead and address all those concerns which are being raised on this aspect?
Now, before that, let me also say that this time around we are having all the government facilities which we were using earlier, and now we have added about 12,000 more hospitals, which are private sector hospitals under PMJY, also common service centers. And if there are 4 states, Odisha, West Bengal, Delhi, and Telangana, where we don't have the PMJY scheme running, and there, if they have their own state health schemes, so we have said that these private hospitals should also be included in the process. So we expect about 13,000 private hospitals also will participate in this.
Okay.
On the question of data privacy, let me first say that the data which is being collected is basically your name and your gender and age. Nothing else is being collected. And your Aadhaar number you are authenticating, and that's about all. So there is no personally sensitive data which is being stored on the CoWIN app. However, the data will be kept, encrypted, and data will be completely safe and secure. So people should not bother about or should not bother about the data privacy or data security in this particular application, because we don't have any information. After all, you are identified by Vishal. I called you, so you can say that this is my personal name. How this is my private data, and who are you to who are authorized to call me by that name? Now, obviously, name is not private, right? Name is the public interface of you by which you are known. So similarly, gender is also not a private thing, and date of birth, as far as concerned, that is also not very very private data. And date of birth we are not asking; we are just asking year of birth. So
Okay.
year of birth is also not a very private issue. So the data is not nothing sensitive, but even that data is also protected.
Okay. Okay. So now when you're talking about data, Mr. Sharma, there are several set of databases which have been created so far. CoWIN obviously is one of them. Then Arogya Setu was another. Then we have other databases as well. The Aadhaar is one database. Just like that, there are several databases. So there's a multiplicity of databases which exist. How do you think we can move ahead in the future? Because obviously we had to innovate during the COVID pandemic. In terms of integration of these databases, that is really, really important, maybe perhaps in the near future.
No, integration of databases is complete antithesis of privacy. So basically, that's not what we have adopted. We have adopted the strategy of federated databases, federated data, which means that the data must remain with the domain in which the data is generated or to which it belongs. So,
Okay.
for example, customers' data should remain with the banks. Similarly, CoWIN data should remain with the CoWIN app. Now, there is no need for any integration of that type, unless you want to have a horizontal kind of view of something. That's a different issue. That also will mean that you are profiling a person in some sense. That's not really what is the spirit of data privacy.
Okay. Okay. So there it is once again clearly pointing out that as far as data privacy is concerned, there is nothing to be, worried about. There's nothing to be concerned about there. One more aspect here, Mr. Sharma, is that, once this vaccination drive is over in the next few months, what will be the utilization of this particular application, which obviously will have a lot of data in it with regards to, the general citizens, their health record as well, because there will be people who will be coming with the comorbidities as well?
Well, I am not, one thing which I would say is probably this data could be fruitfully utilized after anonymizing for various kinds of analysis. For example, if people do come and, provide a certificate of comorbidity, and we know what kind of comorbidity people suffer. So maybe we could have a broad analytical data of people between 45 to 60 years of age as to what kind of comorbidities they do suffer. So maybe some utilization can be done, but of course it will all be privacy preserving utilization. That's what I can think of. But more importantly, the application which is being developed, or which has been developed for this particular vaccination program, this application can then be used for other kinds of vaccination programs, like we have a universal immunization program or some other pandemic which it takes place. So that way, I think this application which is going to emerge and which is going to get more robust and scalable, that scalability and robustness will be tested during these vaccinations. That will probably become a good source and resource for us for utilizing it in similar programs in future.
Okay, definitely. That seemingly is one very important aspect there. But now, Mr. Sharma, it has been, it is rather a very humongous exercise, the entire COVID vaccination drive. And I'm pretty sure, there must be an entire large team which must have worked on this application, behind the scenes as well. So we would like to understand how has been the entire process of not only developing this application, but also, correcting the glitches or correcting the sort of, mistakes or based on the feedback which might have been received from the ground, and then bringing it to this particular level of 2.0, wherein general public will now be involved from 1st of March onwards.
Well, that's a very interesting question, Vishal, and let me say that we have learned a lot of lessons from the first, first experience, which is the COVID 1.0 experience thus far. So one of the things which we learned was that if you collect the data, then that data will have a lot of duplicates, data will have a lot of other issues, and therefore it's not a good idea that you have these data, kind of pre-populated or have this in Excel sheets. It's always a good idea to allow citizens to enter their own data, because the possibility of them committing an error will be much less than the possibility of somebody else entering their data. So that's one part. So therefore, we have abandoned that whole sort of approach of this uploading of the data and then downloading it again for creating sessions. That's number one. Okay. Number two, we also realize that if you create your own sessions and you create your own list of beneficiary for a particular day, then it may happen that due to certain reasons, maybe hesitancy, maybe non-availability, people may not turn up on that particular day, or maybe they turn up next day or next to next day. So therefore, people's convenience or their acceptance is not really taken into account in this particular approach, which is rather supply-driven approach and not a demand-driven approach. Okay. So that also we have learned, and we realize that if the citizens themselves or people themselves start making registrations, they start making a day of their choice or a center of their choice, then it becomes much more likely that there will be no show, when the vaccination takes place. Okay. Even now there will be certain no shows because somebody may get some emergency, somebody may suffer from some other issues. So that is there, but then with this process being put in place, as soon as he cancels the registration or reschedules the registration, we will have that vacancy available for others, so others can get it. So that way the utilization percentage of capacity will be much more in this part. So there are multiple reasons, and of course, the last one is of course the architectural part. So we have to make the system scalable, and we have to make the system simple and inclusive. So essentially, you will see that the system of registration is very simple. System of getting appointment is again very simple. And then, it is inclusive in the sense that we are allowing one mobile phone having four, registrations, till four registrations. So that way, it's a very inclusive, simple process. The scalability is yet another aspect which needs to be tested and which shall be tested in the coming days.
Okay, definitely. Indeed, it is a very inclusive approach and a proper approach out there. Thank you so much, Mr. RS Sharma, for sharing all those details with us. And there it is, all about not only the CoWIN 2.0 application, but also the entire process which is to be followed from 1st of March, when the entire vaccination drive is being expanded to include those above 60 years of age and those above 45 years of age, but with comorbidities. So all of you who fall in these groups are requested to go ahead and get yourself vaccinated. Make use of this opportunity, but also please do not forget to adhere to the COVID appropriate behavior. Wear your mask properly, wash your hands regularly, and also maintain physical distancing of at least 6 feet when you are there in the public domain. These 3 simple steps will go a long way in keeping you and your near and dear ones safe and secure. That's all in this edition of India Fights Back. We'll come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television. Thank you.